All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope there are a number of you out there who can access this webinar. Unfortunately, a number of people are suggesting that they cannot access it. I don't know why. Give me a minute and I will be right back. Okay, everybody, I will be right with you. There are a number of people who are having problems logging on to this page. I am going to just try and send out a link to a number of people. All right, just stay with me. I will be right back. Don't go away. If you're on the call, can you just simply, on the right-hand side, there should be, if you could just let us know your name and where you are logging in from. In the meanwhile, I'll try and rectify a number of issues that some other people might be having. Okay, can you hear me there? If you can hear me, put yes, whether or not the chat box visible to you. If it is, just simply say yes in the chat box on the right hand side. If there isn't any chat box, I am not too sure what is Google Google Hangouts. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? All right, just bear with me. I'll be right back. Hi. Hello. I'm going to send some links out. Hi. You're almost in. Okay. I'm on. I'm just amazed on a number of other people who might be having problems. Yep. All right. Okay. Cheers. Okay, we are live and direct. Sorry for the slight delay. If you're there, I'm really sorry. I apologize. Well, hello everyone. I'm Hilton Samuel. I hope you can see me. And there has been some technical glitch or glitches with the Google Hangouts that I'm using. Number of people have been emailing me, calling me, and suggesting that they have problems logging on. I've been trying to send out some texts and emails to people who are having difficulty. Okay, bear with me as I go through the broadcast this evening. Okay, I should really have a number of people on the call with me. I have my friend Ebony Empress. Not too sure that she's going to be able to make it. If she can't, hopefully next week we will have her live and direct on the call. We normally like to do a two-way kind of interactive broadcasts. At this moment, just to let you know how we're going to progress, I am going to share my screen with you, and I'll take you through a number of different topics that we will be covering. Now, first of all, we'll be looking at, while we're, just bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to share my screen, and if you can see my screen, just say yes. If somebody can give me a quick text to tell me whether or not they are hearing me live and if everything is coming through clearly at their end or on their end. Are you hearing me? Right now on the screen, you should see the topic that we'll be dealing with tonight, 7 ways to find a Christian spouse. If you are hearing me and if I'm coming through to you loud and clear, can you just send me a quick text? Oh, great. Yeah, because I wasn't sure that I was talking to just the air or the wind. All right, those of you who are on the other end, welcome again. And I am going to be speaking to you on a topic called 7 ways to find a Christian spouse. Now, first of all, let us just simply get into what I call a little bit of a housekeeping. I would like to welcome all of you. And this is going to be the first in a series of 8 Christian dating webinar series. The first one we're dealing with tonight is 7 powerful ways to meet a great Christian man or woman. Next week at the same time, same place, we'll be talking about how to avoid marrying a jerk or jerkette. Then following that, we'll be talking about biblical dating in a modern world. Biblical dating in a modern world. How do you date biblically in today's world? And you should really like this one because I think many people experience it, but they don't talk about it. You don't hear the preacher speak about it. You don't hear it at Bible studies. You may hear people warn you against it, but it's not discussed in full. Holy and horny. What do you think your fleshly or what that should be what are Christian women looking for in a man? That's a little bit of a grammatical glitch right there. Never mind. 8 ways to pray for your love life or your lack of it. 8 ways to pray for your love life or lack of it. So those are the topics that we'll be dealing with. And from time to time, each week, I'll be sending to you a link that you would get on the webinar. Today is our first, so we've had a little bit of a glitch. So I apologize for it. I sincerely apologize. A bit of a housekeeping. We should really spend about an hour on the call. Encouraging you to turn off all distractions. Don't be messaging people if it's possible. I know lots of you women can multitask, but I would like you to focus. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box if you can see a chat box, or email them to me. There will be no replay of this. Probably I'll be forced to give a replay. Hopefully it's recorded. And I would like you to invite your friend. If you have anyone who's not on the call, please invite them. I'll be sending out a link where they could join. Okay, that's it for our housekeeping. Now my screen is a little bit frozen. What will we be? What will you share with you what we'll be dealing with? 4 false doctrines, 4 romantic false doctrines that might be keeping you single. There are some doctrines that are sometimes even preached from the pulpit that just might be holding you strapped, cemented in the single world. Then we will be looking at 4 new gospels of Bible-based dating, the new gospel of Bible-based dating. I am going to be like Paul. I'm going to bring you a new gospel of Bible-based dating. And then we're going to be talking about shortcuts to finding potential spouses that you haven't been using. There are shortcuts. There are things you can do. So I'll share those with you. And finally, we will look at how to attract rather than chase men or women. If you're not seeing the chat box, you probably might have to text me your questions. My number is 07903 317 426. Number again is 07903 317 426. So let's shoot. We don't have enough time to waste. We don't have a lot of time to waste. So we're going to shoot with how to get rid of romantic false doctrines. And what are these false doctrines that I'm talking about? What are these false doctrines that sometimes even is preached, promulgated, propagated from the pulpit? And I like Paul, I like to tell you, don't become bewitched by these. There is a concept out there that there are not enough men to go around. And it is probably based and validated by what is known as statistics or empirical evidence. But tonight, I want to dispel that myth. It may seem real to you, but it is mythical. Not because you can't see something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Let me repeat that again. Because you can't see something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I first came to this country, I used to think that there are no insects, or very little insects. I didn't see any ants. I didn't see cockroaches. I didn't see any mosquitoes. I just thought that the place could have dropped crumbs on my table and go away and come back, and no creatures would be seen, no insects would be seen. And one day, I was in a hurry to go to a meeting, and I had to take with me a packed lunch, and I was making some jam and some honey and peanut butter sandwich. And when I squirted the bottle, a blob of honey dropped on the counter. I didn't have enough time to clean it up, so I rushed off and came back later that night, only to find that there was a whole colony of ants. I thought the queen, everyone, the aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, all the families, second cousins, they were all there eating the honey. And the thought came to me, you know what? Not because I didn't see the ants before, it doesn't mean that they were non-existent. What I needed was something to attract the ants. I tell you a story that you know about in the Bible. There was a time when the disciples of Jesus fished all night on the lake. These were experienced men. And they fished, or they tried to fish, without catching one single fish. And lo and behold, in the morning, when Jesus met them, Jesus said, when they were coming ashore and they saw Jesus and they wanted to know who it was, Jesus said, cast your net on the other side. In the same lake, at the same place where they fished all night and they didn't catch a fish, Jesus said, cast your net on the other side. And bingo, those of you who know the Bible very well, they cast their net on the other side, and the net was so full of fish that it was even breaking. Here is the point. Here is the point. I know maybe in the church that you're at, good prospects. Maybe where you are at this point in time, for you, you're not seeing any good men or any good women. They're not enough to go around. However, and believe you me, there are good women, there are good men. And God is not limited by the limitation around you. So don't be fooled into this so-called paradigm that there are not enough men, or that there are no good women left. There are lots of good men and there are lots of good women. There are men who are getting out of relationships right now. There are men who are coming out of age. There are men who are returning to the database of singles who are either being divorced, who are breaking up from relationships. And there are men who are having birthdays, 24th birthday, 30th birthday, 35th birthday, who are joining the database of singles. So don't be despair by that. I think you get the point that I'm making now. And the question is not where to find them, but how. And I'm going to tell you about 7 different ways. Some people think that they're too old, or divorced, or they're single parents and no man would want them. But recently, I was having a session, and this lady told me of a woman who had 9 children. Think about that, 9 children. And this man loved her in spite of the fact that she had 9 children, got married to her and raised those children as if they were his very own. My brothers, my sisters, whoever you are, whether you're a single dad or a single mom, there are men and women out there who would make perfect partners. I don't like the term partners, spouses for you. There are some people who are divorced and they are bitter. They think that life cannot go on. But there is a friend of mine who said there is life after divorce. There is life after divorce. This is not going to be a session about talking about divorce, but there is life after divorce. And those of you who are thinking that probably you're over 40, maybe you're over 50, maybe you're over 60, but I like to tell from Montserrat, so die hard, only to learn that when she was late 60s, she actually got married. So there is hope for you if you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, 50s, or even 60s. Okay, enough of that one. Let's go on to how to get the new gospel of mating. The new gospel of dating. Now, there is a concept, and I want to share that concept with you. Some of you may be consciously aware of it. Others of you may not be. Literal and maybe tradition of men. And the model that says, in order for you to get a relationship, you need to have interest in the person first. So some way, somehow, the person must tickle your interest, must attract your eyes, your feelings. There must be some kind of chemistry. And then if that person attracts you, then there has to be some romantic compatibility. And then if you feel that way inclined, you may look at the person's spiritual compatibility. And lastly, you may decide whether or not the person is functional for you. So that's how the modern concept is. I call it the ABC model. You must attract, then you bond with the person, and if things are right, you commit in long-term relationship. That is marriage. So that's the modern concept. Today, I want to flip that model for you. What if, according to the Bible, you start looking for and employing a different model? I find that I feel very strange just talking into a mic. I don't have any interaction whatsoever. Can someone just send me a quick text to say whether or not I am coming across loud and clear, and if everything is a-okay on your end? I was talking about the new gospel of mating and updating the model that we probably operate from. And the gospel of mating I am talking about is actually found in First Peter chapter 3. Peter said to those people, and he was talking to married couples, that if you have a unchristian or non-Christian husband, that you must live a godly lifestyle, and by your good works he would be converted. And I began to think about that. Okay. All right. Yes. Good. Well, thank you for that confirmation, because I I was uncertain whether or not I'm still streaming through. I am at the point of talking about a better model of engaging, not the romantic model that we are accustomed to, because in the Western world, we like to feel chemistry. In fact, I like to give people a little bit of a quiz. The quiz, oh, hold on. The chat room is open. I'm not in the chat room. I'm going to switch back to the chat room in a minute. I'm going to switch back to the chat room. After I finish this point, I'll switch right back to the chat room. And I have a quiz for you. If you meet someone who ticks all the boxes, in other words, if you're a woman and you met a man who is godly, he works hard, he has all the qualities that are required and necessary, however, you don't have any chemistry for him, will you marry him? And for the men who are listening, if you meet a woman who is, quite reasonably good looking, um, she's faithful, she has all the qualities and attributes of a good Christian, she is a domestic, she cooks, washes, clean, she's even a professional. However, you don't feel the attraction for her, will you marry her? Okay, I'm going to switch back to my chat mode and see what you people are saying about that. Right, the chat is open. However, I am not actually seeing anything here. Okay, let me try typing in here. Here's the question. Will you marry someone if you don't have chemistry for them? You know what, guys? I'm going to actually ask you to text me, because for some strange reason, I am not seeing your chat responses. Will you marry someone if you don't have chemistry for them? And this is the new gospel I like to bring to you. Peter says that the men should love their women according to knowledge. Men, husbands, love your wife according to knowledge. And what he meant really, do not base your marital experience on feelings, on chemistry, on love. Base it on knowledge, intellectual knowledge. And here is the point I would like to share with every one of you today. The new gospel that I would like to preach, I would like to teach, I would like to share, is that we should now begin to evaluate people based on knowledge, because chemistry is a very fickle thing. Chemistry usually lasts only for 18 months to 3 years, 18 to 36 months. So maybe we want to reevaluate how we go about picking, attracting, interacting, and committing. Maybe we may want to reevaluate and find out exactly. Hold on. I'm going to look at my text here. Okay. This person says, no, I will not marry him. That's one person. And we have Sandra. Sandra saying, suppose we don't want to do domestics. Should a man still marry a woman that won't cook? Oh, interesting. I'm going to come back to that question. And Andrina said, I'd love to say that I would, but if I wasn't attracted to him, then all the flaws are magnified because I'm not attracted to him. This is quite interesting. Let me deal with the one with that speaks about domestication. Will a man marry a woman who isn't domesticated? Suppose we don't want to do the domestics. That's from a woman. That's from Sandra. Should a man marry a woman that won't cook? Now there's no. I don't know. Most men, I'll say this. Most men are attracted and have a need for a woman who has the ability, the capability of being domestic. And if that is what I call a make or break, a deal breaker for a man, he shouldn't really get married to such a woman. However, let me also say there are some men who love to cook. So if the woman doesn't like to cook and he loves to cook and he likes to be in the kitchen and he doesn't mind doing it, why not? Go ahead. And there may be some cases where both parties could decide that they would hire someone to cook. If you're rich enough and you want to hire a servant or a maid or a domestic help, that shouldn't be a make or break deal. So there my answer. Sandra, if it's a deal breaker for the man, I would suggest that he doesn't. If the man likes to cook and he doesn't mind, then he could do the cooking in the house. If both of them decide that they're going to be equally committed in doing the domestic chores, which is what most people do today anyway, myself included. I don't particularly like to cook, but there are times when I have to get in the kitchen and do my fair bit because myself and my wife work. I hope that answered the question. And as for Andrina, who indicated that even though she isn't really attracted to the person, if she isn't attracted, all his flaws would be magnified. If she's not attracted, all his flaws would be magnified. That's a very good point I didn't really think about. Usually when you don't love someone, you tend to see the negative aspects of him or her much more than when you are in love with them. But here's the point. Here's the point. What you focus on actually grows and become greater. If you decide to focus on the negative aspects of someone, then those points literally become in more and more in your face, more and more magnified. However, if you choose to look more on the positive aspects, eventually you can fall in love with the person. Here is what we know. Here is what we know. In countries where there are what we call arranged marriages, although arranged marriages have their own issues and problems, they have found that between 5 to 10 years of those people being together, they grow to love each other. Although it started from a situation where they are put together not because of love, when they commit and they live and they work together, eventually romantic love blossoms or develops. So romantic love can be developed. And all I'm saying here, according to the scriptures, for the scriptural models seem to emphasize the fact that you commit to someone based on knowledge rather than on chemistry. And you and I know that the romantic model, where people just, get involved with each other because of the passions they have for each other, and eventually marry each other when the passions die, when the feelings go, when they no longer feel the warm glow that they have for that person anymore, then they would have to decide. I have a saying, and I would like to share it in a minute on the screen, that love is a decision. In fact, I say that love is a creation. It is a co-creation between two people. It's not just a feeling. So the new gospel I'm suggesting that we begin to think about is to create love, to decide love, and not simply go around waiting for our attraction, for our feelings, for the chemistry to be activated. May we decide today to look into probably, and I'm going to share my screen again. I want to share my screen because I have some notes here on the screen. Hopefully you are seeing my screen. Here are several points of the new gospel that I want to preach according to the Bible, that we should love with understanding. First of all, you should check to see if they are functional, check their spiritual compatibility. Then you decide whether or not you can either develop chemistry. I suggest that you find someone you can grow with, someone you can contribute to, someone who's willing to learn. Because if you have someone who has all these qualities, you will be surprised that the chemistry, the attraction that you want will grow and develop. Now, here's a little bit of an assignment for you. Take a break and write down all that you have in your life. When I say possible, whether or not you're attracted to them, but you know, they may either be interested in you, or they someone suggested to you. They may, once they are possible suitors, just write a list out, and from that, I want you to figure out, can this person be a good husband or wife? Not whether or not you love me. Yes, Andrina is asking if I'm, so you're not saying that chemistry isn't important. Chemistry is important. I am just saying that you do not have to start with chemistry. Chemistry can be developed. Have you ever met someone? Have you ever actually met someone that initially, you know, you're probably not too attracted to that individual, but over time, and I'm going to give you a very good example, Andrina, if you're there. I met a guy the other day, and his face was badly disfigured, badly burnt. And you would say really that he was definitely ugly. If I'm going to use a term, he was definitely ugly, and he a little bit almost repulsive, because he was scarred. And then I heard the guy speak. And he told the story of how someone threw acid on him, burnt up his face. And when I came home, my wife said to me, when I looked at him, I thought, why was he so? She felt a little bit of an apprehension. But after he finished speaking, my wife said, I didn't see his face again. He is such a loving person. Have you ever met someone that initially you were kind of, from the looks, the appearance, and after getting to know them, after interacting with them for a little bit for some time, you begin to see the beauty, and you no longer see them the way you initially saw them before? The converse is also true. Have you ever met someone who, from all appearances, very handsome or stunningly beautiful, and then you get to know them, and after knowing them, they are probably the worst person that you've ever come across? The way they speak, the things they do, the horrible things they say about other people, they're just ugly inside. And here's the point I'm making: judge not because of appearances. And Peter and Paul makes a solid point that we must not just put out the outward appearance, but we must be adorned beautifully inside. And I'm saying that if you look at the qualities of people, you may find, giving them a second chance, you may find that there is beauty. I remember a young lady, she's older now, who said that, in fact, when she met her husband, she hated him. She absolutely disliked him. But he was persistent and engaged her. When I say engaged, not engaged to be married, but simply continued having a banter with her, speaking to her, doing things for her. And eventually, that initial resistance was broken down. And eventually, she got to love him. She got married to him. Now they have children together. And she said to me, the guy that she really loved, in retrospect, if she had gotten married to him, chances are they would have been divorced by now. So here's my point, and this is the final point. Look, I'm saying to you, have a different model. Look at people's qualities. Look at their spiritual compatibility to you. Look at whether or not they can make good husbands, not just a good date, not just a person or a trophy bride, if they are functionally compatible, spiritually compatible, my dear, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, chemistry can always grow. All right, here is Sandra Rodney's text. She says, is there a single man out there who likes to cook, over 45 and available, with a fit body and mind, still breathing? Well, she asked me to send you her number. I'm sorry about that. Sandra, you make me laugh. All right, but there is a call out there for any man who is over 45, likes to cook, still available, fit in body. Sandra is available. Okay. Right, time is shooting by, and I think I might have to break this up into 2 parts because we've had a very rocky start, and we have a lot to cover. So probably we will spend the next maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then we will wrap up. I don't want to go longer than 9:30 because many of us are workers and we have to go to bed and get up early in the morning to do the daily work again. Here is the 3rd point I want to make, and I'm very serious about this. A lot of people are trying to find spouses all on their own steam. Number 3, do not do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. No man is an island. No man stands alone. And you'll find that if you don't do it alone, you will be able to get a lot of help. Duplicate yourself. And how do you duplicate yourself? Get a mentor. How do you get a mentor? Now, Ruth had a mentor, Naomi. Naomi told Ruth exactly what to do. I am suggesting in most areas of our lives, when we go to work, they give us a mentor, they give us someone to show us around. In almost every other area of life, they recommend mentors. Why don't we get mentors in the romantic area? Let someone help you. Find someone who has successfully found love and let them mentor you through the process. Find friends who are couples. There is another thing I've noticed. Listen to this very carefully. I've noticed that a lot of singles only hang out with singles. A lot of singles only hang out with singles. I am suggesting here that you get couples to be friends. You know what they told me in a wealth seminar? I found it fascinating when they said this to me. They said that your salary would be the average of the 7 people or the 7 closest friends that you have. And I thought that was phenomenal. And I want to bring it into this arena that if you want to be married and you have only single friends, then the chances are that you're more likely to stay single. So you need to have some friends who are married too. Yes, Sandra is asking if I could email the chat that I have. I'm going to send it out. If everyone send me their email, I will send this mind map out to them. Now, here's some other ways you can duplicate yourself. And I like this concept. I shared this concept with a number of people. Have what we call a joint venture. Joint ventures is when you hook up with people with similar goals as you have. So find 3 to 5 people who are on a similar journey to you. Then make a list of 3 to 5 great single men or women. So if you're a woman, find about 3 other single women who are on a similar journey to you. Then sit down and make a list of single men that you know. It could be a brother, a friend, a colleague, someone else that you know who is available. These people, these men, and if you're a man, you can do something similar, may not be suitable to you. I hate to use the term, may not be your cup of tea, but let's use that term. But they are eligible. I suggest to you that with your other 3 friends who would do the same thing, you begin to exchange suggestions. Nobody is suggesting that they have to take up the person that you're suggesting, but this person comes recommended. You may find that someone who's not your cup of tea is somebody else's cup of tea. So if 3 friends recommend 3 people to you, and you recommend 3 people to each of them, chances are you will have about 9 available people that you can be going out with next week, next month, within the next 6 months. Don't do it alone. Then you can come together, pray with each other, discuss the process and the progress that you're making, strategize together, and discuss the best way to get to meet more people and match the people that you have with those friends. I hope you understand that process. And then there are recommendations. Let people know, funnily enough, in the church, I have found that there are a lot of people in the church, single people, who do not necessarily want you to know that they are available or that they are looking. And I don't know why. Probably want to appear desperate. However, I suggest to people, and this is a wonderful suggestion, if just write a list of your friends, doctor, dentist. I'm just joking. Have a list of all of these people and go to them and simply say to them, maybe your pastor, maybe the leaders in the church, simply say to them, if you were to recommend someone to me, who would that person be? If you were to recommend someone to me, who would that person be? Now, the interesting thing about leaders is that they have a large database of people that they know. They may not readily think of someone, but once you have made that suggestion, guess what? They will begin to think. They will begin to keep their eyes and ears open. So don't do it alone. Do not do it alone. Get some help. And I want to recommend to you that if you can't find family and friends that could help you, why not get a professional? My friend Andrina runs a matchmaking business, and I'm sure she would be happy to give you help in that area. Her company is called Divine Introductions. Divine Introductions, I think that's .org. Divineintroductions.org. And, she would be delighted to help you with that process. And as for me, I'll be happy to coach you. So if you can't find free friends that you want to help you, why not get professionals to help you? Matchmaking service, coaching service. But please, please do not do it alone. Finally, and I'm going to round up on this 4th part, and then next week, when we have all the kinks ironed out, properly ironed out, and everybody gets all the links, then we will continue with the other 4. Oh, all right. Sorry. Andrina company is called divineintroductions.co.uk. divineintroductions.co.uk. Okay, I'm going to give you those details when we're winding up again, so don't worry if you missed it. Become known everywhere. There's a story I read of Jesus, and I found it fascinating because there was one time when Jesus healed a man and told the man not to tell anyone. But the man still went away and told everybody in town. And the reputation of Jesus spread before him. And I am saying here, what you need to do is to let your reputation spread. The question I want to ask you, what kind of reputation do you have? In Ruth, Boaz saw Ruth and asked about Ruth. And the things that he heard about Ruth made him like Ruth, to the point where he began to give and do favors for Ruth. Let your reputation go before you. Let your good works attract people to you. And I am saying that if you haven't been doing good works, start doing them. If you haven't been kind, start being kind. If you haven't, be nice, start being nice. Because there is nothing like a good reputation. And I remember the story of this guy. He was particularly looking for a spouse and eventually met this girl and thought that he did a splendid job in trying to secure the girl's heart. And they did start to go out. They eventually got married. And she said to him, after they were married, that she heard about him long before they met. She heard two people. Actually, she overheard two people speaking about this person. And in her mind, she said, oh boy, that guy would be a nice guy to meet. That was just a thought in her mind. Little did she know that a week or two after, she would literally meet him. And long before he made an attempt to secure her heart was prepared for him. And this is the point I'm making. What is your reputation saying about you? What are people talking about you? You would find that sometimes, guys would have conversations and they would talk about, are there any good girls? Are there any nice girls at your church? And, a name would pop in mind. And sometimes women have this conversation. Are there any good men around? And a person would come to mind. And many times when I go to speak and people ask me, do you know of any good men? Are there any good men still left? There are several guys that I could easily tap into and I could think about. My thing is, what I'm saying here, you can attract people in your life even without you realizing that your reputation has done the job for you. I'm going to stop there, guys, because it is now 9:30 and we want to just have 1 hour of doing this. I think this is a trial run. This is going to be a bit of a trial run. We're going to have part 2 of this next week. I'll go over some of the points that I've started, and then we will have probably a much better run of this. Those of you who have been with me so far, thank you for stopping by. And let me just round up by giving you a couple of pointers. First of all, please, pretty please, if you know of any friend or family or relative who can benefit from this, please share the link. I'll send out another link, if not tomorrow, sometime over the weekend. and please come back again. If you have any questions, email them to me before, and by next week, hopefully, praise God, we're going to pray that God help us to iron out all of the kinks that we have, all of the kinks that we have. Just to let you know, those of you who might be willing to travel, I'll be having a seminar, a physical seminar in Birmingham on the 28th of March. I think that is Easter Monday. My friend Andrina has set it up, and it will be in the Church of God of Prophecy. I can't remember the street, but if you are interested, please let me know. The topic of that whole day webinar is called Meet, Date, and Marry: How to Meet, Treat, and Marry Your Future Christian Spouse. And we'll be going into a lot of details. I'll be giving you handouts. I'll be walking you through the process of meeting, dating, and marrying someone. Let me say, God wants you married. Don't give up hope. It doesn't matter where you are, what station you are in life, what position you are, what mistakes you've made in your life, whether or not you're divorced, whether or not you have children, whether or not you're over a certain age limit. It doesn't matter. God wants you married. And God is not going to set you up with the desire to have a family to frustrate you. There is hope. Keep hope alive. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we are very happy that we've had this wonderful opportunity together. We've started out on a rocky path, and next week, hopefully, we would iron out all the kinks and we would have a smooth webinar. I want you to touch the lives of those people who have been on this webinar. You know their desires. You have created those desires. You have implanted and embedded the desire to couple up, to join together, to have a family, godly families that would represent you here on earth. And I pray, God, that you would make this a reality for all those people who are on this journey. I thank you, and I ask you to help them to believe it, to live it, to understand it, to walk in your promise, that you will fulfill the desires of each of our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, thank you, everyone, and God bless. Have a good night, and we will see you next week, same time, same place.